Now that we're back, welcome back to some more Stormworks. I'm StormRunner Gaming, and today we are back working on this unnamed tanker here yet again. And I've done a few things off camera to get it pretty close to operational here. I've got a lot of the nitty-gritty engine runs done with all the pipes for the air and exhaust as well. So we have a new tower behind the control room here for the exhaust as well as the air there. And I've set up a couple other things, of course, like the cooling as well as the fuel here. So I'm hoping by the end of this episode we should be able to get some propellers on the back here, because I have run all the pipes to run power to the back here, and I'm going to get some rudimentary controls up to the control room. But of course, you guys did give me a really cool idea for the control room here to make it look a lot better than this derpy looking, I don't even know what it is. It looks like that one brown Japanese thing. I'll put a picture of what I mean up on the screen right now, but so you guys can look on the left the my control room, on the right the like Momo or something. I can't exactly remember the name of it, but you guys may or may not have seen it before. But now we are going to take it back to the workshop here, and we're going to start working on this control room right here, and we're going to have to rip out all that glass and everything, leaving that part. And I am going to rip out the sunroof for now, because we have to make it move a little bit more than where we have it right now. And you guys are going to see why in a second here. So I am going to have to grab a lot of glass pieces right here to build what we want. We actually need a large angled piece there, as well as a lot of other smaller pieces to get this job done here. Alright, and the first thing we need to do here for designing of this right here is we need to actually make this edge right here a little bit larger than we've had it before. We're going to be making it a 2 triangles instead of 1, and we're going to be running a larger piece of glass across here so we can actually get glass on the edge there. And those blocks were just to test out if we can get that angled window in there, because there is some weird things in Stormworks where you need how do I say this? You need to build blocks below the windows you need to actually put them down. But anyway, now that we've got those triangles done on the side there, we're going to be putting in 2 of these pieces here, and I'm going to need another custom piece of glass here, or the 2x2 piece of glass to put in right next to these guys, like that. And then we're going to be adding in some cornered windows. And the cool thing about this design is it actually gives it a little bit more like body, I guess you could call it, because it kind of pushes the windows out and makes it look a lot better in my opinion. And good, we are replicating that on the other side, and it works perfectly to the middle there. So we can also run, we're going to be putting 1 more piece of glass on top of this just to finish off the look there. And then we're going to have our roof built right above that there, connecting up to the top. I think we are going to give it the sort of overhang that I see that you guys suggested for this. This isn't actually my design. I am working off of somebody else's window design here, so I'm not taking any credit. I'm just seeing how somebody else built it. And I like what they've done pretty well here, so I'm making my own representation. I don't exactly know. The person that actually did send me the idea for this windshield here is Geekness, and Geekness, I do thank you for helping me out finding a really cool design for my windows here. And I do need to finish up 1 or 2 here, and it's giving me that little problem. And one of the things you can do while building windows in Stormworks, I know this is going to be a temporary platform here just to get this one window in here, because they can be a little bit fussy to get correct, and we've gotten that in there perfectly. And I may extend my window back here 1 or 2 more, make it look a little bit cooler. And we're going to do a bit of an overhang as well, so we're going to need a 2x2 block there, and then a couple curved glasses, because we can't fit a 3x3 in here anymore. So we're going to have to go with the 1x1s and just put 2 of them next to each other. And we're also going to have to get the this cornered piece on here as well. And it's great that we have this 2x1 window, of course, as well. I say as well too much, I've been realizing that. But anyway, we have that piece to put there, and we just need to clean up the lines around all these windows here with a couple more blocks to get everything correct and tidy. But that's looking a lot better from where I had it before. I do need to tidy up down here with all of these blocks, and I probably, if I use the 3x2 windows here, it should go a lot better than what I had before, especially the pattern, because right above we have the 3x3 windows working perfectly, the angled ones, and that's looking pretty neat actually. I'm liking that a lot. So let's get a full roof over this now, and I'm liking the edge they put on here as well. And I'm wondering, can I get it? That's working more or less to my benefit there. For some reason it always does skip this one block here, and maybe it's just a little glitch, but I am happy that they added in that little drag feature for those edged blocks. That's a really cool feature. It saves a lot of time, of course, with all the rotations and stuff in game. And I could, now that I'm looking at it, we can sort of extend out this awning type of deal over this little walkway here, back all the way to the edge there, because it kind of does look weird if we just snap this straight back to there. So I'm thinking if we give it something like that, that may look a lot cool. We're gonna have to see. I'm experimenting right now, and we'll see how good or bad that looks. If it looks pretty bad, I'll just rip it out immediately, but that actually doesn't look too bad, and it gives you a little bit of cover from the elements, of course. Rain, not exactly wind, but you're only going to have, like, I guess you'd call them like watchmen or whatever. Like your crew is looking out for, I guess, ships and stuff coming up, helping the pilot drive the ship. Anyway, we're going to be going down to the engine room now, and I'll be showing you guys all the things I've done with this. Of course, I did run all the pipes through the walls and stuff up to our exhaust and air there. The exhaust for the engines and the air intake here, which are on separate pipes running through that wall, and they do come over here to each engine respectively. And for the cooling for the engine, we have two pumps running here, and I wonder if I can... Oh, it's one or the other. I keep forgetting about that they don't have, you can only color them one block. It's just like the toggle button coloring. You can only color them one color or another. But we do have the entire engine here and a hybrid system with a medium electric engine. And I have the hybrid system just to give it a little bit more oomph. And I have a lot of room in my engineering. I'm going to be adding in a jet engine to produce power into this boat, maybe even two, because I have a lot of room. And I've already allocated these two large tanks that hold about, I think it's almost 15,000 liters of fuel here. And then I've got two skinnier tanks for that jet engine that's going to be producing electric for the hybrid system. And I seem to be lost to my own boat. But anyway, we do also have those lines running with power to the back of the boat. So we're going to have to cut up the hull back here to get some propellers on the back of this boat. And we can see if we can get this thing moving on this episode. We do have a bit of room here, but the one thing I do worry about is if this room is not enough to give us space for that rudder as well, because we are going to need the large rudder as well as, I wonder if we can fit giant propellers in here. Just do two giant propellers. Those are giant propellers indeed, taking up a lot of space, but they do fit more or less. The only problem I see in here is fitting in our rudders. Looks like we can almost fit three up there. And I didn't turn on my symmetry mode. That stinks, but we're not going to be keeping that design because I think we are going to move down to a large propeller instead of the giant one, just due to space, especially for the for the rudders and everything. I was about to say propellers. And we need to make this a watertight box here as well. So we're going to do that work first. And I'm probably going to be replacing a couple of these blocks up here with the actual rudder housing, because we have this large part here to put up there. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'll actually do maybe 2 rudders on each side. I'm actually going to have to cut out what we have over there, over here, because we did not do that earlier. And that is perfect. It looks like we got a little bit. Are they off by a little bit? That's odd. Oh, they're looking perfect now. That's interesting how they didn't line up or whatever. But now let's get our rudders in here. And we're going to have to add another line on top of that to mount them to. Oops. And whenever you are mounting rudders, or the propellers for that sake, you don't want to have the symmetry mode on there, because it will do the exact opposite on the other side. Of course, you could run logic to the other side to just switch the signal to the rudders or the propeller, but that's another hoop I just don't want to jump through. It just seems like more work for me to have to do. But I do also want to get, let's see if we can, yeah, we do have a little bit of contact between there, so we may have to cut into a little bit of that tank back there. And I don't have my symmetry mode, because I do want to drop these down a little bit as well. They seem comically high at the moment. So let's bring them down a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 blocks at least. More to a reasonable level, especially for the size of the propeller here. And we're only going to have 2 propellers because it is not a speedboat or anything. We're not going to be winning any fast titles tonight or today or any day with this boat at that matter. But it does look like the size of that last tank on either side is going to be compromised just a little bit. Not too much, but it's noticeable, especially if you are trying to maximize the amount of fluids you are able to transport in this vessel. So we also do have 2 rudders here mounted to that back plate there. Let's get those into here, and we have the correct rotation. That's perfect. And now all we need to do to finish these off, we can go back into our symmetry mode now that we've got all of the rudders and everything placed, and we can clean up some of that excess for the blocks that we misleadingly put down earlier. Let's get that line out as well. And now we can make all of this flush, because of course we want to maximize, or I guess minimize, the area that these are taking up and maximize the interior area here. And we can probably take back a little bit of space for the fluid tank right here by pushing out the tank maybe even over this spot a little bit. Probably not too much, but something to compensate for a little bit of area taken up by that there. And of course we are going to have to test out if this is watertight or not. I'm not seeing any holes yet, but I'm going to make sure before I paint it and clean up a little bit more of these lines, make it look a little bit better down here, because I am trying to make the boat look decently good here, and I think it's looking okay so far. Can we actually get away? We can get away with putting a line there. So that should help with the waterproofing, as well as putting a line of blocks there as well. So let's save that up over the version 14 here. And we will put in some color as well on top of this, coloring it all red for that all-important water line here. We are going to have to probably take off that propeller. I should have realized I would need to take the propeller off to paint behind it, but I wasn't thinking about it at the time. So I am going to have to replace that in a little bit here. So we got everything colored perfectly. We got to take it out of that symmetry mode again and place the propellers the same way on both sides. So now that is perfect. We have power and turning as well. with this boat, and it's definitely not going to be very fast, but it'll move nonetheless. Let's name it V15 here. And let's actually see if we can get this thing running or not. We are going to have to connect up a lot of power to this temporary battery here. The pumps on both sides, all of the gearboxes. We don't actually have any of the gearboxes connected up to any values yet, but I believe you need them powered for them to run nonetheless, as well as we're not going to be running the electric engines today either, but it's better to get them powered than not. And we're also going to be connecting up a lot of these dials because we do want to see how well the engine runs. And I also did set up a few of our components values, like the rotations per second, as well as the temperature here, and each fuel tank for both of these diesel engines here. And we're also going to have to connect up those cooling pumps on both sides. And now let's get to connecting up a bit of the data for our engines here. And all we need to connect up is the throttle and the starter for the moment. And we're going to name both of those buttons on both sides so we don't get confused where this is going to be going. Alright, now that we've got one side connected up perfectly, all we got to do is run over here and connect the rest of our buttons up now for cooling as well as our fuel pump. And now let's see if we can get this boat moving here with the version 15. Hopefully we got everything with power. Looks like we do, and hopefully that battery lasts long enough to get us moving here, because we have yet to get this thing out of the dock. And I realize that back end is lifting up a lot, but that might not be a horrible thing. And one thing I do want to change before the end here as well, you guys did comment on these hinges, and I did realize I put them on the wrong way, so I'm going to switch them to before we end here. So we do have to venture all the way down to our engineering here, and we have a nice little staircase. I do have to fix that with a railing or something, but that'll be for a later date. So let's throw the throttle up here, get the fuel pumps and cooling. Doesn't look like the fuel pumps have power on that side. Oops. But it looks like this one is running perfectly. So we do have to do one or two improvements real quick, meaning the one button over here that we needed didn't have power. So let's connect that up. And I do want to switch while I'm thinking about it here, so I don't forget on a later date. Those two door hinges on the large doors, let's switch them over to the correct spots here. Hopefully that doesn't mess too much up. It shouldn't mess too much up, I believe. All we need to do is get the small pointy things on the interior of the door. So that should be perfect. And we do have to merge those in on either side. And all we have to do yet again is connect up power, as well as that logical value here up to our throttle next to the crane control. And let's make sure the door as well as the engines are running perfectly now. And if anyone else is wondering, I am going to run multi-controls from either the control room or the engine room here for engine power and everything, as well as different controls. But this thing is looking much better. I do have to clean that one block up, but that's something a future StormRunner can deal with. Let's see, the gates are opening, or excuse me, the cargo doors are opening up perfectly. Let's go on down. I do need a staircase in there as well to get down to the lower level here, so you don't have to keep going outside. Something like running from here down. Alright, third time's the charm here, and it looks like we got power over that side. And I believe we are moving. I can't actually tell, and I have no way to actually control where the ship is going, but we're moving nonetheless. So that is pretty darn cool. We still don't have a stabilization system on here as well, but I'm liking where it is right now, because that control room is looking a lot better already. So yeah, we are going to have to set up a lot of controls for up there, as well as our stabilization system for the boat. And if I can remember my hotkeys correctly, I keep doing escape for running or getting out of third person mode when I mean to do tab. So if you see that menu, this menu pop up, it means I just don't remember my buttons correctly. But yeah, that is it for today's episode on the Unnamed Tanker. I've been playing around with names recently. The latest one I thought of, I can run by you guys real quick, the Runner. Runner Tanker? Tanker Runner? That it doesn't sound great now that I'm saying it, but I don't know. It could be christened that. Now look, money. Anyway, so of course if you guys did like this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel to stay up with Stormworks and more of my content, but I've never been great at goodbye, so people need me, and I need to go.